Aloha, welcome back to Think Tech Hawaii's Life in the Law. My name is Carol Mon Lee. And today I have the pleasure of welcoming a guest, a friend, Janet Kloenhamer, who is the Executive Vice President and General Counsel to Hawaii Pacific University, HPU. Welcome.
Thank you, Carol. It's a delight to be here.
Well, you have such a long title, as we just joked about, and do so many different things. So first I thought we could spend a little time telling me exactly what you do for HPU. I know you're not involved in the academic side of the university, but everything else, it seems like.
So I do have responsibility for most of the non-academic operations of the university. So that includes legal, compliance, governance. It also includes risk management, facilities, human resources, marketing and communications, asset management, security, a number of other things.
Wow. I don't know how you have time to do that all. So you are its chief lawyer, but it seems like you're also doing so many other things that aren't necessarily law related.
That's very true. HPU is a relatively small institution, and so in a smaller private institution, it's not unusual for the senior leaders to wear multiple hats.
Right. So how big actually is HPU in comparison to, I know you're the largest private university in the state of Hawaii, and how many students do
We
you have?
are roughly 7,000 students.
And how many campuses?
Operating on 3 campuses.
Right. All on Oahu?
All are on Oahu. We refer to them as our Mauka, our Makai, and our metropolitan downtown campus.
I see. So I know your newest campus is very exciting. It's the new, as it's called the ATM, right? Aloha Tower Marketplace.
So it's Hawaii Pacific University at Aloha Tower Marketplace.
And when did you move into Aloha Tower Marketplace?
We moved in August. Our students moved into the lofts that were built on the second floor of the marketplace. We also moved some of the academic functions, including a learning commons. Our student government is located at Aloha Tower Marketplace. We have a faculty student lounge, and we have 3 multi-purpose rooms. And we call them multi-purpose rooms because Aloha Tower is open to the public, and we host many community events at Aloha Tower. And so while we use those multi-purpose rooms as classrooms, we also use them for banquets, for meetings, for lectures, symposia.
I see. So as many people, our public might be, remember, of course, Aloha Tower Marketplace has long been a center for our visitor industry, where the Aloha Tower is, and has been transformed recently. So if you haven't had an opportunity to go down and see it, you should.
Absolutely.
Now, where's your office?
My office is in Aloha Tower Marketplace. I'm on the 3rd floor. So I have the pleasure of watching the Star of Honolulu 3 times a day, bringing our visitors to view Honolulu Harbor.
And what is the plan in terms of the 3 campuses? Will you be consolidating some of them at some point?
So in 2014, HPU completed a master plan that followed the strategic plan that was developed in 2012. The master plan calls for academic programs to be consolidated on the downtown campus.
And downtown, is that Aloha Tower Marketplace? No.
That is our footprint along Fort Street Mall and Bishop Street.
And how many buildings does that include?
Right now it encompasses 8 buildings, including our newest location here in the same building that you broadcast from at Pioneer Plaza. Our College of Business just relocated here in August as well.
So you have 8 buildings downtown, not including Aloha Tower Marketplace.
Actually, that includes Aloha Tower Marketplace.
Wow. And so at some point you'll be consolidating some of those?
So right now, 2 of the colleges operate primarily on the Hawaii Loa campus. A portion of the College of Natural and Computational Science is on the Hawaii-Loa campus in Kaneohe, and the College of Nursing. So over time, probably a 2 to 5 year horizon, those academic programs will move downtown.
And what will happen to the Hawaii-Loa campus?
The Hawaii-Loa campus is looking for a strategic partner to bring some kind of continued community-based education. What form that takes has yet to be determined. It really depends on the ultimate strategic partner, but certainly the intention is for that campus to continue to provide support and service to the Windward community.
I see, so we'll keep our eyes open for what happens.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so tell us about the composition of your students. I know you have a very interesting student body.
We do. We have a somewhat non-traditional student body in a lot of respects. The strategic vision of HPU has been over the years to maintain a balance between local, mainland, and international students. It's expressed in terms of a balance of 1/3 local, 1/3 mainland, 1/3 international. At this point, we're skewed a little bit more toward mainland in the 40% range. International students are primarily visiting students. Our mix between undergraduate and graduate programs is roughly 4,000 to 4,500 students undergraduate, and the balance in graduate programs. We also have a very active military campus program serving both academic programs for active duty military as well as what is known as the Yellow Ribbon program, and that's a program for veterans. When we refer to our 3 campuses, we are talking about the main campuses where undergraduate education is delivered, but we actually operate on all of the major military installations as well and deliver academic programming on base for that population.
In Oahu?
Yes.
Do you go to the neighbor islands at all?
We do not at this point.
Oh, that's fascinating. And so about how many students do you have who are in the military right now?
So roughly 1,500.
1,500, that's a big percentage then
It
of your
is.
student body. Okay, and your international students, you said they're mostly in the split between graduate and undergraduate?
They are. They are mostly visiting students, so they aren't necessarily here to matriculate through their entire undergraduate experience. Certainly when they come for graduate school, they are coming to fulfill their graduate education at HPU. We have a mix of students. We actually have students representing 80 countries
Right now?
who come to HPU. At any given time, it ranges between 60 and 80 countries who are represented.
That's amazing.
It is an extraordinary experience for our students to be roommates with someone from Croatia and someone else from China and someone else from South America. It's a wonderful experience, frankly, not only for our students, but for our community.
All right. Is financial aid an issue for all of the students who come from so far away?
So financial aid is not available. U.S.-based financial aid is not available to international students. However, a number of countries have their own financial aid programs and provide varying levels of sponsorship for students to come to HPU for their academic experience, and in many instances that covers most of their expenses.
I see. And tell me a little bit more about the budget issue as far as your size of your budget and what percentage of your budget comes from grants, what percentage comes from tuition.
So like many private institutions that primarily serve an undergraduate population, we are heavily tuition dependent. So we are not, while we did merge with the Oceanic Institute 2 years ago, and we do have an active applied research program through Oceanic Institute, we do not have the same level of research and grant funding of research that an institution such as University of Hawaii has.
So by partnering with Oceanic Institute, you were able to bring in those resources that they obtained
Certainly.
their funding. And as far as tuition, what is your tuition right now?
Our tuition is roughly $22,000.
And is that for in-state and out-of-state?
We don't differentiate
You don't
between
differentiate.
in-state and out-of-state.
And then in addition to that, there's a cost, of course, for room and board.
There is a cost for room and board.
And about how much is that?
Depending on the size of the unit, a waterfront unit at Aloha Tower Marketplace is anywhere from $1,000 to close to $1,500.
Oh, okay, great. Well, I think, are we ready for a break, Zuri? We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back. My guest is Janet Kloenhamer from HPU. We'll be right back.
Aloha! Hello, my name is Patrick Bratton. I'm host at Global Connections here at ThinkTech Hawaii. We broadcast live every Thursday at 1 p.m. We bring Hawaii to the world and the world to Hawaii, talking about international events and various things of interest to the audience. Please join me. I look forward to talking with you and having you get to meet some of my guests. Aloha.
Aloha, namaskar, and hello. My name is Anu Hitchell, and I host the show called Climate Change Beyond Outrage. We go beyond outrage to find solutions to climate problems facing people, nations, and the world. I hope you will join me here every Tuesday at 1 o'clock. We broadcast live from thinktechhawaii.com. Aloha and bye-bye.
Aloha, my name is Carl Campagna. I'm the host of ThinkTech Hawaii's Education Movers, Shakers, and Reformers. You can see our show every Wednesday at noon at 12 p.m. on thinktechhawaii.com, as well as visiting YouTube and finding the link for the show there. The show is also aired on OC16. We look forward to seeing you on the show. We have many wonderful guests, including Joan Husted, Corey Rosenlee, where we talk about the very important issues of education for our keiki. We look forward to seeing you there. Mahalo.
Hi, I'm Ethan Allen, host of Likeable Science on ThinkTech Hawaii. Come join us every Friday at 2 p.m. when I interview interesting scientists about what they do, why they do it, and why we should all care about it. It's a lot of fun to see. We hear, and you can learn interesting stuff. You'll hear all kinds of fascinating science, and we know you'll have a great time. Hope to see you then. Bye-bye.
Welcome back. This is Carol Mon Lee for today's program, Life in the Law, with my guest, Janet Kloenhamer, who is the Executive Vice President and General Counsel for HPU. And today's program is entitled HPU Perspectives from its Chief Lawyer. So I wanted to spend this segment talking more about your own challenges and role as its chief lawyer and some of the administrative and other types of issues that you face. And I was wondering if you could give us some ideas of some of the workflow and some of the major problems that you've been dealing with.
Well, from a workflow standpoint, being general counsel of a college or university is in a number of respects similar to being general counsel of any type of institution. You have a number of governance issues that always need to be addressed, transactional issues, and then you have the unique issues of regulation of the industry of higher education, as well as issues involving students, student affairs, compliance with Title IX, with Clery, with a number of frameworks, both at the federal as well as the state levels.
Right, and I know, of course, it's very much in the news lately, the issue of, and we had talked about April becoming is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Has HPU had an experience with many of cases regarding sexual abuse, date violence, things like that?
Well, unfortunately, every institution has to face the issue. HPU has been very proactive. In 2011, HPU began the process of revamping our approach to sexual assault awareness and safety on campus. We were aware that the Federal Department of Education was looking to promulgate new standards and regulations, and determined that it was important for us to be proactive. And so we went through a best practices process of determining what other institutions were doing, and then creating a program and process that provides as much education and security as possible for our students.
And so can you describe a little bit that process?
Sure, absolutely. There are a couple of things that we do that we think are somewhat unique, particularly now with our Aloha Tower campus. It has been increasingly important for us to work with and partner with the retail establishments, the restaurants that are on site, but our students go to school in downtown, in Chinatown, and so in the fall we started a program in collaboration with the Sexual Assault Awareness Organization, and we brought training in bartending, in how to check an ID to verify that it isn't a false ID, in how to determine whether a student is at risk, and really bringing education about how to protect our community, including our students, to the retail and restaurant establishments. In April, we will expand our outreach to more bars and restaurants throughout downtown.
So what are we talking about in terms of numbers? Do you have a percentage of students who might have been affected by some kind of either date violence, sexual assault?
Well, in 2011, as the Federal Department of Education was preparing to restructure its program, the statistics were that roughly 20% of all students are either put in a situation where they experience sexual assault or an attempted sexual assault. Of that roughly 20%, roughly 6% are young men.
This is a nationwide
This is a
statistic.
nationwide statistic. Programmatically, the other thing that HPU has done this year is we have commenced outreach to high schools. And while most institutions have a program as new students are arriving on campus and receiving their orientation, and they're learning about so many things, and part of that process is sexual assault awareness. We took the position that if we wait until they arrive on campus, it's already too late. And we know statistically that many sexual assaults occur within the first couple of weeks of new students arriving on campus. So we have begun taking our message to the high schools. We began with Iolani and conducted an awareness program for all students, whether they're coming to HPU or going to UH or going to the mainland to study. It was a program targeted for both the students, senior students, and their parents to increase awareness of sexual assault. This semester, we will be hosting a statewide gathering of high school counselors, and we will be rolling that program out to all high school counselors.
So is this part of your department?
Yes, it is.
And so how do you staff these talks? Are they counselors or people from your department of
So
psychology?
we staff them primarily. We have an attorney on staff who specializes in that area. Our Dean of Students, Mary Tess McKee, is also actively involved. Our residence life staff are actively involved. Our counseling department. So we try to bring a multidisciplinary approach.
Now, if a student does experience a problem, what kind of services do you provide to the student?
So we, of course, have our own counseling services, but we also work with outside providers and have relationships with, depending on the need, with doctors, with counselors, with the Sex Abuse Treatment Center, with a variety of resources.
Oh, okay. Well, I know it's a very serious and important issue, and it's good to hear how HPU is dealing with it. On a little lighter note, tell me a little bit more. I can tell your responsibilities include marketing and communications. What kind of, how have you stepped that up in the last few years with your change in your increase in your number of campuses? I know you're having a new president. Your current president is retiring soon. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that and how you're celebrating his arrival? And
Sure, absolutely. And I'll also share a little bit about our approach to marketing and communications more broadly as well. In July, John Gotanda will become president of Hawaii Pacific University. He will be succeeding Dr. Jeffrey Bannister, who has been president for the past 5 years. John is a local product. Went to Roosevelt High School, University of Hawaii, Richardson School of Law, and is finishing his tenure as Dean of the Law School at Villanova University.
yes, we're in Hawaii very proud of his return, and since I was at the University of Hawaii Law School, we particularly look forward to his presiding over HPU.
He has been very warmly received by the community, both internal and external. So we're very excited. In the meanwhile, as Dr. Bannister finishes his tenure, today he is actually on the mainland with our admissions team, recruiting, meeting with admitted students and high school counselors in preparation for our fall class. Since I became responsible for marketing and communications, much of our focus has been on our community of prospective students, of current students, of our alumni, and our broader community of supporters, and really bringing an integrated message and getting the word out that that HPU is focused on academic quality, that our strategic plan of focus on student success, of creating and bringing new facilities online, such as Aloha Tower Marketplace, are really transforming the institution.
And downtown Honolulu, too. We're very,
And downtown.
Yeah, we're very proud to be a partner with HPU and many endeavors that we are doing together. I understand we have a tweet. Let's see if I can read it. It says, regarding sexual assault awareness, does HPU also help to eradicate survival, sex, and prostitution amongst its students? If so, how? Good question.
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. So the work that we are doing in that respect is primarily through the Dean of Students and really a lot of engagement by the student leadership. No matter how many resources you have, who are counselors, who are student success professionals, it nowhere equals the number of eyes and ears of thousands of students who are sitting right next to and interacting with and trying to support one another. So the most important aspect of what we do in that respect is to build the bonds of trust and confidence among students, and to encourage students, if they see something, say something. There's help out there, but they're the ones who see and hear what's going on every day, every hour.
Right. Okay. Well, I think this is a good time for a break. We will be right back with my guest, Janet Kloenhamer from HPU.
Aloha, I'm Keli'i Akina with the Grassroots Institute of Hawaii, and one of our delights is to be partnered with Think Tech Hawaii and produce programs every week. Every Monday at 2 o'clock, we have a show called E Hana Kako, which means let's work together. So we bring people from all across the nation and the country, and certainly throughout the islands, together here to talk with them about how to work together, and how to work together to do the following: to build a better economy, a better government, a better society. So if you're interested in the research of our think tank, the Grassroots Institute, or if you're interested in how that's applied at the governmental and community and business levels, you'll enjoy the fascinating conversations with our guests on E Hana Kako every week on Think Tech Hawaii at 2 o'clock on Mondays. Until our next show, I'll see you. Aloha.
Welcome back. This is Carol Mon Lee, Think Tech Hawaii. Our topic today is HPU Perspectives from its chief lawyer, Janet Kloenhamer, who is Executive Vice President and General Counsel. So thank you again for joining us.
Thank you.
I'm really interested in career paths for women and lawyers and young lawyers who are graduating these days, with issues regarding, of course, high debt load from paying for tuition, but also the lack of jobs in the marketplace. And as young lawyers make choices as to where they can work, what kind of work they can do, what is satisfying to them, financially, what can they do to get a job that's going to help them pay off that debt. I, like you, have chosen in the past to be in the corporate world, and I'm wondering why you chose this and how you find it as in terms of a satisfying job compared to your years in private practice and in corporate work.
Okay, well, I'll try and cover a few
Yeah,
of those things together. So just in terms of choosing the path of law and a legal education, my husband and I are both attorneys. We met and married in law school. We have 2 children, one of whom took the Hawaii bar exam last week.
Oh, good luck.
And another finishing his, he'll be finishing his senior year at Berkeley, headed to law school.
Oh my goodness.
So
More lawyers.
more lawyers, but really I would characterize that as more people who have been educated in a certain way of thinking and looking at the world and understanding how things are done, and protecting the interests of the community. And so when I think of law as a career, and for myself, when I first went to law school, it was really with the orientation of being a business person, but having that knowledge of the law to guide me and to help me be successful as a business person. So as a consequence, from a career standpoint, I have had the privilege of being in private practice as well as working in a corporate setting, both as general counsel for 8 years, as well as a senior corporate executive on the business side.
This was on the mainland, right?
And that was on the mainland. And when I had the opportunity to make a career choice, to do something very different and really pursue a passion, that's what led me to higher education.
I see. And the passion is?
The passion is education.
Is it?
The passion is being connected to something where you can see a tangible outcome every day in what you do.
So it's kind of the perfect blend of your passion in education, but your skill set developed as a lawyer in terms of thinking, planning, articulating, analyzing, and being able to apply those to this passion of an educational
Exactly.
session. Mhm. Has it been a good type of career for, let's say, you were a mother of 2 children? How did that work-life, family balance help being in something like this kind of work?
So for me, work-life balance has been important, but it takes a village, and more importantly, it takes a family. And I was fortunate for our family that our children were able to grow up with involvement from mom and dad and grandma and lots of positive influences on their life. It is important for children to see women who play a role in the business world, who demonstrate leadership, whether that is in the nonprofit, the for-profit, the education field, but being a role model is an important part of parenting, and achieving all that you aspire to achieve is one of the most important lessons you can deliver.
It sounds too like at HPU you've been able to expand the types of work, the responsibilities, and the challenges that may not be available in other fields where the role of maybe a lawyer is fairly narrow within the type of law that they're practicing.
When I first went in-house in the corporate setting, I didn't think I would like it, and I thought it was an opportunity to really learn from a client perspective, and my intention was to take that back to private practice and apply it. What I found, however, was that there was so much opportunity to be engaged in in strategy, in planning, in execution, and the thought of going back to just sitting on the sidelines and advising, there was no turning back for me.
How many lawyers does HPU have? Do you have a big office, a general counsel's office?
There are 3 lawyers in the general counsel's office. The deputy general counsel also supports the board as the assistant corporate secretary.
Right. You're corporate secretary.
Yes, and one of our lawyers specializes in labor and employment, but also serves as my deputy for administration. So she touches a lot of the non-academic administrative areas as well. And the 3rd lawyer in the department does largely transactional as well as intellectual property work.
And you mentioned that was one of your lawyers who does the training, goes out to the schools, the high schools, to do the training on sexual assault. I see. How about your work with outside law firms? I assume if there is a lawsuit that HPU faces, that it's sent out to private firms to represent you?
Yeah, typically we use a private firm to defend us in litigation. We have a small group. We have a small portfolio of litigation, fortunately.
Good. Shrinking, hopefully.
Yes. And so we work with several local firms as our kind of go-to counsel.
And so what do you see in the future for you and as HPU grows in this new way with campuses and a new president?
For me, it is really the opportunity to bring the knowledge, the discipline, the planning, the ways of thinking to the strategy of the institution. I find that perspective and diverse voices and diversity in all of the senses of diversity is important to making good short-term as well as long-term choices.
Diversity, that's an important word. So tell me about the diversity of the university, both in terms of staffing, we talked about the student body and its makeup, but do you have diversity challenges?
No, actually, I think we're very fortunate that we don't have diversity challenges like any other institution. We have certain targets for affirmative action. We really don't struggle, although we are very mindful of those targets. I would say probably the biggest challenge will be as particularly in our faculty as well as our staff, ensuring that as we are refreshing and replenishing as some of the baby boomers approach retirement, that we are continuing to maintain the right balance of diversity, both ethnic and diversity of thought and gender and all of those elements.
Mm-hmm. And what are some of the targets you mentioned that you have for diversity?
Off the top of my head, I don't know what the numbers are. Our target, our aspirational target is to represent our student population, and because we have such an extraordinarily diverse student population, we aspirationally seek to reflect that in our staff, in our faculty as well.
Right. Now, for your students who come from the mainland, and if you have, I know you want to, of course, you appeal to students from the mainland who want to come to Hawaii, but if they are low income, do they have trouble struggling in terms of our higher cost of living here, and how, I know we talked a little bit about financial aid, but what kind of support can you provide them?
So compared to most mainland institutions, certainly our peer institutions, we are among the lowest tuition
You are.
institutions. And
And your peer institutions are on the mainland then, right?
so when we are benchmarking peer institutions for tuition,
Can you give us an example of some of those peer institutions, let's say in California, or schools that other people will recognize their names?
sure, University of the Pacific is an example.
In California,
In
in
California. And we do tend to benchmark more to West Coast universities because a large number of our students are West Coast based. So those mainland students are West Coast based. So from a tuition standpoint, we do benchmark as a best price
So
in
what
the
would the-
West institution, but from a and I know your concern is about the total cost of
Right.
the education, and so when you look at how expensive it is to live in Hawaii, financial aid is very important, and so our students have access to the same forms of FAFSA financial aid opportunities, as well as scholarships. And we have a scholarship, a merit-based scholarship program, not just for mainland students, but for our local students as well.
So you have merit and need-based
Merit
scholarship.
and need-based scholarships.
And what percentage do you think of your students are on some kind of financial aid?
Almost all.
Almost all.
Particularly when you also look at our military population who receive DoD benefits to go to school,
Right.
as well as Yellow Ribbon Program.
And is the application process very selective? How briefly, we only have a few more minutes left. Is the application process difficult? You just go online to hpu.edu.
Online to hpu.edu. It's as simple as clicking some buttons.
Okay, great. Well, we have just a minute or so left, Janet. This has been really interesting. And I want to give you the opportunity, if you have something to say to our public regarding HPU and its mission and your goals and what we as a community can provide and support HPU.
Well, thank you, Carol. What I would really like to say to the community is we have recently relocated to Aloha Tower. We are a community-based institution at Aloha Tower. We have restaurants and retail. We are adding new tenants all the time. We have line dancing that is starting on Sundays. And we have many opportunities for the community to come down and experience the new revitalized Aloha Tower Marketplace.
Wonderful. Okay. Thank you so much, Janet. And we look forward to going line dancing with you
Excellent.
and attending some of the many great talks and speeches. And we know many of your professors who come down to Think Tech Hawaii and share their experience and knowledge with our viewers. So on behalf of Think Tech Hawaii, thank you so much. This is Carol Mon Lee with my guest, Executive Vice President and General Counsel of HPU, Janet Kloenhamer. Aloha. Thank
Aloha.
you.
Thank
We'll
you
see
for having
next
me on the
time.
show.